In this video, I'm about to show you 10 Costco bakery products you should leave completely alone and 5 you absolutely shouldn't, starting with the ones that'll have you putting that cart right back where you found it. Number 10. Costco Kirkland Signature Butter Croissants. Now look, I want to be fair here. These croissants look incredible in the box. Golden, flaky, oversized, the kind of thing you see and think, okay, that's worth it. And for years, a lot of people, myself included, thought Costco's butter croissants were the real deal. But here's the thing nobody talks about when they're gushing over these in the comments. They're made with a combination of palm oil and butter flavor enhancers, not purely with the kind of honest, real butter that a proper French croissant demands. A legitimate croissant requires what bakers call lamination, actual cold butter folded into dough repeatedly to create those airy layers. What Costco's version uses is a shortcut dough process that relies on modified fats to mimic that texture at scale. And at the volume Costco produces these things millions of units annually across hundreds of warehouse locations, there's no way they're doing traditional lamination. The result is a croissant that feels a little too soft, a little too uniform, and leaves a faint greasy coating on the roof of your mouth that real butter simply does not do. The American Bakers Association has noted for years that large-scale production croissants typically substitute 30 to 40% of butter content with cheaper fat blends to maintain consistency and reduce cost. That's not a croissant. That's a croissant-shaped compromise wrapped in a pretty box. And for the nearly $17 you're handing over for a pack of 12, you'd expect Costco to do better than palm oil dressed up in French packaging. Number 9. Costco Kirkland Signature Chocolate Chunk Cookies. These cookies are everywhere. People bring them to parties, offices, potlucks, you name it. Big, thick, loaded with chocolate chunks, and they smell incredible right out of the container. So what's the problem? The problem is, the ingredient list reads like a chemistry textbook that got lost in a bakery. These cookies contain soy lecithin, artificial flavor, sodium aluminum phosphate, and TBHQ tertiary butyl hydroquinone, which is a petroleum-derived preservative used to extend shelf life. The FDA does allow TBHQ in food, but it caps usage because at higher doses in animal studies, it has been connected to precancerous stomach tumors and vision disturbances. Now, the amount in one cookie is technically within the legal limit, but when you're buying a tray of 24 cookies from Costco and your grandkids are running through them like they're candy, those doses add up fast. On top of that, sodium aluminum phosphate is a leavening agent that has been flagged in neurological research circles for years because of concerns around aluminum accumulation in the body. A 2020 review published in the journal Food and Chemical Toxicology noted that chronic low-level aluminum exposure through food additives remains a legitimate area of concern, particularly for older adults whose kidney filtration efficiency declines naturally with age. These aren't the homemade cookies your grandmother baked on a Sunday. These are factory-produced, preservative-loaded bricks engineered to sit on a shelf for weeks without going stale. That convenience has a cost, and it's not just the $15 on the price tag. Number 8. Costco Kirkland Signature Blueberry Muffins. The muffins at Costco look absolutely ridiculous. I mean that in the worst way. They are enormous. We are talking muffins the size of a softball, and that size alone should be your first red flag. Each one of these Kirkland Signature Blueberry Muffins clocks in at around 610 calories per muffin. 610 calories. That is almost a third of an average adult's daily caloric intake in a single breakfast item. But the calories aren't even the biggest issue. The bigger problem is what's creating that soft bakery-style texture. A combination of high fructose corn syrup, soybean oil, and mono and diglycerides, which are emulsifiers, often derived from partially hydrogenated fats. The FDA required manufacturers to eliminate most partially hydrogenated oils by 2018, but mono and diglycerides slipped through that regulation because they're technically classified differently, even though they can still contain trace trans fat. A 2019 Harvard School of Public Health report specifically called out mono and diglycerides as a regulatory loophole, warning that consumers who believe they've eliminated trans fats from their diet may still be consuming them unknowingly through these emulsifiers. And these blueberries? Some of them aren't even real blueberries in the traditional sense. They're blueberry-flavored bits, meaning your muffin's main selling point is partially artificial. When a company is charging you close to $19 for a pack of muffins and can't even put real blueberries in them consistently, something has gone very wrong. Number 7. Costco Kirkland Signature All-American Chocolate Cake. This cake shows up at every celebration, every birthday, every office party. It's become almost a cultural institution at this point, and I understand why. It's big, it's cheap relative to a custom bakery cake, and it looks the part. But that chocolate frosting is where things get ugly. Costco's All-American Chocolate Cake uses a frosting that contains partially hydrogenated palm kernel oil, and yes, that is a source of trans fat, still present in certain baked goods even after the broader FDA ban. Because the rule applies to added partially hydrogenated oils as an ingredient category, but enforcement has been inconsistent across certain frostings and fillings. The American Heart Association is crystal clear. There is no safe level of trans fat consumption. Even small amounts increase LDL cholesterol, decrease HDL cholesterol, and raise the risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke. For the retired community, for people already managing blood pressure and cholesterol, this isn't a minor footnote. On top of that, the cake uses red 40, yellow 5, and blue 1 artificial dyes in the decorative elements. Red 40 inches particular has been under the microscope for years. In March of 2025, the FDA officially moved to ban red 40 from the food supply after a series of studies linked it to behavioral issues in children and raised questions about carcinogenic byproducts in its manufacturing process. The EU had already required warning labels on red 40 products for years before that decision was made. You're paying around $20 for a cake that contains ingredients regulators in multiple countries have either banned or flagged, and Costco just keeps selling it like nothing happened. Number 6. Costco Kirkland Signature Cheesecake. Costco's cheesecake has a cult following. People act like it's some kind of sacred food item. And look, I'll give credit where it's due. The texture is smooth, the size is generous, and the price point for a 12-inch cheesecake is hard to argue with on the surface. But the filling uses carrageenan as a stabilizer. Carrageenan is a seaweed-derived thickener that sounds harmless, and for many people it is, but for a significant portion of the population, it causes serious gastrointestinal inflammation. A 2017 review in the journal Frontiers in Pediatrics noted that degraded carrageenan has been shown to cause intestinal ulceration and inflammation in animal models, and while food-grade carrageenan is technically different, concerns remain about the conversion of food-grade carrageenan to degraded forms during digestion. The Cornucopia Institute, a food safety watchdog, has been petitioning the FDA to remove carrageenan from organic food certifications for years based on this exact research. For older adults who are already dealing with digestive sensitivity, which becomes increasingly common after 60, adding carrageenan into the mix through a heavy, rich cheesecake is not a great idea. And at roughly $18, Costco could absolutely afford to reformulate this product without the stabilizer. They choose not to because carrageenan is cheap and it gives the filling that perfect uniform texture that photographs well and sells units. Your gut health is just not factored into that equation. Number 5. Costco Kirkland Signature Cinnamon Rolls. These cinnamon rolls hit every sensory button the moment you open the package. The smell, the size, the gooey icing, it's pure comfort food territory. But the icing on these rolls contains high fructose corn syrup as the primary sweetener, and the dough itself is loaded with dough conditioners, including azodicarbonamide, the same ingredient that Subway famously removed from their bread in 2014 after massive public backlash. When it was revealed, it's also used in yoga mat foam. Azodicarbonamide is a dough strengthener and bleaching agent that, when baked, breaks down into semicarbazide and urethane, both of which are classified as potentially carcinogenic. The World Health Organization flagged urethane specifically as a Group 2A carcinogen, meaning it is probably carcinogenic to humans. The UK and European Union banned azodicarbonamide in food products completely. The United States still allows it. So while Costco is selling you these oversized, beautiful cinnamon rolls, they are doing so with an ingredient that has been illegal to put in bread in dozens of other developed countries. That gap between American food standards and international ones is one of the most frustrating things about buying packaged bakery goods in this country, and Costco, with all its buying power and resources, is absolutely in a position to lead on reformulation. Instead, they just keep rolling out the same recipe because it's cheaper, and most people never look at the ingredient list. Number 4. Costco Kirkland's signature croissant rolls bakery section. These are different from the butter croissants in the refrigerated section. These come fresh from the in-store Costco bakery, and they look even more impressive, big, golden, fresh baked. But fresh baked doesn't mean clean. The Costco in-store bakery uses pre-proofed frozen dough supplied through their commercial baking partners, and that dough contains sodium stearoyl lactylate and calcium propionate. Calcium propionate is an antifungal preservative used to extend freshness, and it's been studied in relation to behavioral and sleep disruption. A controlled study published in the Journal of Pediatric Child Health found that calcium propionate consumption was associated with irritability, restlessness, and sleep disturbance in children, and while adults process it differently. For people with migraine sensitivity, it has been flagged as a dietary trigger for years by the American Migraine Foundation. Sodium stearoyl lactylate is a synthetic emulsifier that, while generally recognized as safe, is produced through a reaction of lactic acid and stearic acid and is used primarily to make dough softer and more elastic at a lower production cost. The illusion of a freshly baked artisan roll in the Costco bakery case is mostly packaging theater. The dough was frozen, pre-made, and industrially conditioned before it ever saw that warehouse oven. At nearly $14 for a pack of 12, that is a lot of money for what is essentially reheated commercial frozen dough. Number 3. Costco Kirkland's signature apple pie. Every holiday season, Costco moves an enormous volume of these pies. The apple pie looks like something your neighbor made from scratch lattice crust, golden brown, smells like autumn. But that crust contains BHA butylated hydroxyanisole, a synthetic antioxidant used as a preservative. The National Toxicology Program, which operates under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, has listed BHA as reasonably anticipated to be a human carcinogen since 2011. The European Union restricts BHA use significantly more than the United States does. The state of California lists it under Proposition 65 as a known carcinogen. Costco is selling this pie nationwide, from coast to coast, and the ingredient that California requires a warning label for is sitting right there in the crust. The apple filling itself uses high fructose corn syrup and corn syrup combined, so there are 2 forms of industrial sweetener in the filling simultaneously, which is the kind of thing that happens when cost reduction is the primary design principle rather than quality. A single slice of this pie contains around 450 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and preservatives that multiple regulatory bodies around the world have raised serious flags about. The whole pie costs around $12, which sounds like a deal until you start reading what you're actually buying. Number 2. Costco Kirkland Signature Lemon Loaf. The lemon loaf is one of the most popular items in the Costco bakery section, and it is one of the most deceptive. It looks clean, a bright white glaze, a simple loaf shape, nothing alarming about the appearance. But the lemon flavor in this product comes almost entirely from artificial lemon flavor rather than actual lemon juice or lemon zest used in any meaningful quantity. The glaze contains titanium dioxide, a whitening agent that the European Food Safety Authority banned from food use in 2022, ruling it could no longer be considered safe after a comprehensive review of genotoxicity data, meaning data on whether a substance can damage DNA. The FDA still allows titanium dioxide in food in the United States. So again, the same pattern emerges. An ingredient that the scientific and regulatory consensus in Europe has determined is unsafe is still sitting inside a product on American shelves. Titanium dioxide is used in this glaze purely for appearance to make it look brilliant white and visually appealing. It serves no flavor, no texture, no nutritional purpose whatsoever. It is in there entirely so the loaf looks better in the display case and in marketing photos, and you are consuming it every time you eat a slice. For roughly $11 for a 2-pack, Costco is charging you for an artificial lemon flavor, a potentially genotoxic whitening agent, and a loaf that has almost nothing in common with something you would bake in your own kitchen. Number 1. Costco Kirkland Signature Bakery Mini Scones Variety Pack. These are the #1 product to avoid from the Costco bakery, and here's exactly why. The Mini Scones Variety Pack, the ones with the blueberry, cranberry, orange, and cinnamon chip varieties, contain propylene glycol, which is an FDA-approved food additive used as a moisture-carrying humectant to keep baked goods from drying out. Propylene glycol is also a primary ingredient in antifreeze and certain types of electronic cigarette liquid. The FDA classifies it as generally recognized as safe at the levels used in food, but research published in the journal Toxicology Letters has shown that high-frequency consumption of propylene glycol in food can cause central nervous system effects in individuals with compromised kidney function, which includes a large percentage of adults over 65, since kidney function naturally declines with age. Beyond that, the scones are made with enriched bleached flour, bleached with chlorine-based agents, which strips the grain of its natural nutrients and then adds back synthetic vitamins to compensate for what the bleaching process destroyed. That is the food industry's version of breaking your leg and then handing you a crutch and calling it healthcare. The variety pack runs around $14 for 4 dozen mini scones. They look charming, they taste decent, and they photograph beautifully for social media. But when the ingredient doing the moisture work in your breakfast pastry is the same compound keeping your car's cooling system from freezing over in January, it is worth asking some serious questions about who exactly these products are designed to serve. Number 5. Costco Kirkland Signature All Butter Pound Cake. Before you raise an eyebrow, yes, this is the same Costco bakery. And yes, this one actually earns its spot. The All Butter Pound Cake is one of the few products in the Costco bakery section where the name means exactly what it says. The primary fat in this product is real butter, not palm oil, not a butter flavor blend, not a modified fat substitute. Real butter. The ingredient list is short. Enriched flour, butter, sugar, eggs, vanilla extract, salt, baking powder. That is it. No TBHQ, no artificial color, no carrageenan, no propylene glycol. For a mass-produced bakery item sold in warehouse quantities, a clean ingredient list like that is genuinely rare. The texture reflects the simplicity. It is dense, rich, slightly crisp on the edges the way a real pound cake should be, not artificially softened with emulsifiers to mimic that quality. A traditional pound cake recipe calls for 1 pound each of butter, eggs, sugar, and flour, a ratio that is essentially the gold standard of simple baking craftsmanship. Costco's version respects that ratio in a way most commercial competitors do not. The 2-pound loaf runs about $10, which for a genuinely butter-made, additive-free baked product is one of the best value propositions in the entire bakery case. If you are looking for a dessert that will not come with a side of ingredient anxiety, this is where you start. Number 4. Costco Kirkland Signature Baguettes Fresh Bakery. The fresh baguettes from the Costco in-store bakery are one of the most underrated items in the entire building, and they are genuinely worth your attention. Unlike the pre-proofed frozen dough situation with the croissant rolls, Costco's baguettes are produced using a relatively straightforward lean dough formula: flour, water, yeast, and salt. That is the traditional French baguette formula. No dough conditioners, no calcium propionate, no azodicarbonamide. The crust cracks properly when you cut it. The interior has genuine open crumb structure with irregular air pockets, which is exactly what you want from a real fermented dough, and it does not have that cottony, uniformly soft interior that tells you a product has been chemically conditioned for shelf life. The shelf life on these is naturally short, about 1 day before the crust softens significantly, and that short shelf life is actually the proof of quality. Products without preservatives do not last long, and the baguettes at Costco know it. A 2-pack of baguettes runs around $3.50, which is genuinely extraordinary for a product made with clean ingredients. The European Bread Bakers Association standard for a traditional baguette specifies nothing but those 4 core ingredients, and Costco's fresh baguettes meet that standard in a way that their packaged bakery counterparts almost never do. Number 3. Costco Kirkland Signature Pumpkin Pie Seasonal. Every fall, when Costco rolls out the pumpkin pies, they become one of the most discussed bakery items in the country, and the buzz is deserved. This pie uses real pumpkin puree as the primary filling ingredient, not pumpkin flavoring, not a blend of squash varieties with artificial pumpkin flavor added. Real pumpkin. The spice blend is genuine cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, cloves sourced in proportions that produce a filling with actual complexity rather than the one-dimensional sweetness you get from artificial spice flavor systems. The crust is made with enriched flour and vegetable shortening without BHA notably, without the preservative that makes Costco's apple pie problematic. Independent food reviewers at Serious Eats and The Kitchen have both evaluated the Costco pumpkin pie in blind taste tests alongside pies from specialty bakeries costing 3 to 5 times more, and in multiple rounds of testing, the Costco version ranked at or near the top for filling texture and spice balance. At approximately $7 for a 12-inch pie that serves 12 to 16 people, it represents one of the clearest cases where Costco's buying power actually works in favor of the consumer rather than against them. This is a product where scale and quality aligned, and the result is something that consistently punches far above its price point. Number 2. Costco Kirkland Signature Sourdough Bread Fresh Bakery. Sourdough has had a cultural moment over the past several years, and a lot of what gets sold as sourdough in grocery stores is not actually sourdough in any meaningful sense. It is regular commercial bread with a small amount of vinegar or citric acid added to simulate the tang. Costco's Fresh Bakery sourdough is a legitimate exception. The in-store baked sourdough is made with a live culture starter, which means it undergoes genuine fermentation, the process that gives real sourdough its characteristic flavor profile and, more importantly, its improved digestibility. The fermentation process in a true sourdough breaks down a significant portion of the gluten proteins and phytic acid present in wheat, which is why many people who report digestive discomfort with conventional bread can tolerate sourdough without the same issues. A 2020 study published in the journal Foods found that long-fermented sourdough bread reduced the glycemic response compared to conventional bread made with commercial yeast, meaning it causes a slower rise in blood sugar, which is meaningful information for adults managing blood sugar levels. The large sourdough loaf at Costco runs approximately $5 to $6, which for a genuinely fermented live culture product made fresh on site is exceptional value. This is not commercial bread with a sourdough label. It is the real thing. Number 1. Costco Kirkland Signature Cheese Danish Fresh Bakery. The number 1 product in the Costco bakery you should absolutely not walk past is the fresh cheese Danish from the in-store bakery. This is the one that earns it. The cheese filling is made with real cream cheese, not a cream cheese flavored filling, not a stabilized imitation cream cheese product. Genuine cream cheese with a clean, slightly tangy flavor that cuts through the sweetness of the pastry in exactly the way it should. The laminated pastry dough used for the Danish has genuine visible layers from actual butter incorporation, producing a texture that is flaky on the outside and tender inside without the artificial softness that comes from emulsifier-heavy commercial dough. The Danish goes stale within a day or two, which again is the indicator of authenticity. Real laminated butter dough does not have the chemical shelf life extension of its packaged competitors. Consumer reviews across food forums, including Reddit's Costco community, consistently rank this Danish among the top 3 bakery items in the entire store, with frequent comparisons to items from dedicated pastry shops costing significantly more per piece. A pack of 4 runs approximately $9 to $10, putting each Danish at roughly $2 to $2.50 for a cream cheese Danish made with real butter lamination and genuine cream cheese filling. At any dedicated bakery in any American city, that same Danish would cost $4 to $6 per piece without question. This is what Costco is capable of when they stop cutting corners. It is one of the few bakery items in that entire building where everything, the dough, the filling, the process, actually lines up the way it should. Get there early, because these sell out fast and for good reason.